Hi everyone. So here's a little impromptu video that I decided to record, and it's basically just to do with prepping my fabric for the HAEDSAL 2026. So basically I normally use a 25 count even weave for most of my full coverage designs. However, for the HAEDSAL I thought about using, or not using, but trying out a different fabric just to see if it would be easier for me. Now I do like 25 count even weave. I prefer the even weave to the hard danger. However, 25 count can sometimes be a little, I've spoken about this before in other videos, 25 count can sometimes be a little bit small. The holes are a little bit small when you get confetti areas, or if you're trying to do cross country or something like that. It starts to get a little bit jam-packed. So I thought I'm going to try a 22 count, or see if there's a 22 count that isn't hard danger. And I managed to find this beautiful fabric called it's 22 count Oslo Antique White, and it's supposedly an even weave. And it's really, you can see how soft it is. I mean, there's no like Aida sort of crunch to this. It's very drapey, very soft. And I've measured out where my HAEDSAL would begin up here, and I've gone to the other end of the fabric just to do a little test a couple of squares just to see how I'm liking it. Now I don't know if you can spot it already, but putting this onto my hoop I can already see a warping. Let me just move my light a little bit. I can see a warping. This also happens with the linen and the hard danger. See how the line is not straight and it's going like that, and even down here it's kind of wibbly wobbly. I mean, I could probably try to straighten it as much as I can, would probably help, but yeah, I don't really like the way it's warping, and I'm wondering if that is going to make an effect. Probably not, because you can stretch cross stitch quite well, but it could with my tension. If my tension differs and I'm stitching in a line and it's going down and then up and then down and up, goodness knows what the end result is going to be. So that's the first strike against this fabric, that I think it's possibly too soft. These fabrics are usually meant for very delicate embroidery, which doesn't mind a little bit of a wiggle and a stretch. So this is a fat quarter, which is the design itself. Let me just bring my page up here so we can have a look. So on 22 count, we are looking at 11.5 inches. I always go to say 12 to 15.9, and I would say 16. So I would go 12 by 16 here on this 22 count. And that is the design size that I'm looking for. So a fat quarter is plenty if you want to choose. I'm talking about the battle chart, which is the one I've chosen for the HAEDSAL. I think as you've still got time to enter, I'm not sure. You can go and check the featured posts. You can go and check on the website. I think it's got the information there, whether it's still, you can still enter or not. But yeah, I chose the ship a while ago. So I've used colors that I have already got somewhat prepared down here, being guarded by my sleepy cat. And these are all the colors, well, minus a few that I haven't quite got round to putting on bobbins yet, but these are all the colors for the ship. Most of the colors are there, and I've picked out a few brownish, pinkish ones, which are, this is not the chart. Let me just reiterate, nobody has the charts yet. The charts are not going to be given out until January or last couple of days of December, something like that. This is just me stitching any old thing just to see how I like the actual fabric. And what I can see here is that it's really, let me just see if I can hold the camera. What I can see here is that it's really kind of very spongy, like really, really soft. There is no hardness to it at all. See how easily that needle can go through the middle of the stitch. Now that's great if you want to do something like a pin stitch, but not so good if you're a bit tired. And you can miss the hole and you can easily go through. I mean, I don't even have to put any pressure on punching that through. None whatsoever. But if you like something that's really, really soft and you want to go to, say, 22 count instead of 25, and bear in mind also that you're not getting the grid with this. I also don't think, looking closely at these stitches, doesn't want to see how close I can get without it. They are not particularly neat. Now, I haven't done these row by row. I've done these all over the place. And to me, they look a bit untidy. Don't really like how they're laying. They're not laying completely straight or flat. Some of them don't even look like crosses. I suppose the bigger picture, when you've done a good amount of this, probably doesn't make a huge difference, but I don't know, honestly. I really don't know at this point. I'm veering more towards the no than the yes, simply because of the way it's warping like that, and also the way the stitches are lying. But I'm going to do another square in tent and see how that comes out. So if you bear with me, I'll be back in a couple of seconds for you. Okay, having done almost a square of tent stitches. So this is 2 strands over 1 stitch, and I found it easier to stitch than the 1 over 1 full cross, to be honest. The 2 strands tent was easier, but there was a case, like, I'll just point to it with my needle. Where's my needle gone? Just up here, there's a stitch which didn't quite go through the hole. I think the hole there, I slipped it just a little bit down by mistake. And I think that's the danger with having a fabric that's just so slippy and so soft, is that at any point you can just slightly miss that hole and say go into there rather than the actual hole above or below. So I'm not convinced, and to be honest, I prefer the look of the tent. It looks more uniform. It's got a sharper line down the sides and the bottom. It looks to me neater, and when you pull back, I know I haven't used a darker colour in this one, when you pull back, this one sort of does look neater, but not if you're going to have stitches that do that. So again, I don't know. I do like that it's slightly bigger than 25, but I think everything else about it isn't actually working out. Now you can see here, I've tried to wrangle this a lot better, and I think maybe in a Q-snap you would get an even tighter, feel to it, so it would be easier to aim your needle into the right hole. But I have to say, at this point, I'm not completely convinced about either the full cross or the tent stitch at this point. And also, if I'm not having a grid, it could be harder to come back and correct something, or it could be harder to see a mistake, especially when you've got a huge area done. If I was to use this 22 count fabric, I would probably go with the 2 strands tent at this point, just by judging the ease of one and the other. I think it's far easier to make a mistake here. I don't think the stitches look particularly brilliant next to each other. It's a slight bit messy, and I don't think I missed any holes on this side. This one just feels a little bit more neat to me. But this is just all my personal opinion. I am only doing this, you know, just to give you my opinion. I know some people absolutely hate tent. Some people won't do anything but tent. Some people prefer the full crosses or don't like full crosses. Everybody's got their own, you know, likes and dislikes. And I'm just sort of reiterating what it is that I like about it and what it is I don't. And yeah, I definitely feel like it's really difficult because there's some things I like about it more and there's a lot of things I like about it less. So it's hard to actually say whether I'm going to go with the 25 count, my standard 25 count gridded fabric, or am I going to switch to something like this? And I think it's going to be a difficult choice, because when you think about how much you actually have to stitch, like a hole what is it, around 80,000 stitches or something. So ultimately you have to be really, really sure that you're going to enjoy the stitching part. So at the moment, I'm less than 50% convinced about using this fabric, which isn't boding well. So that's where I'm at the moment. I will I would definitely come back and keep you posted on whether this is going to be my final decision, the 22 count Oslo, or whether I'm going to go with the 25 count gridded, or whether I'm going to go with something completely different. I've still got a couple of weeks to decide, a few weeks left to decide. So I'll come back and let you know. Let me know what you're doing if you're intending to do the HAEDSAL in 2026. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.